Biggest what-ifs and missed opportunities. What if one decision, just one injury, one trade, one conversation had changed everything? The NBA of the 1970s and 1980s wasn't just a game of athleticism and rivalries. It was a delicate balance of fate, timing, and decisions that shaped legends. But what if that balance had shifted? What if Magic Johnson never got sick? What if the Trailblazers had made the right pick? What if Julius Erving stayed healthy at his peak? These aren't just questions, they're the doorways to an alternate history of the league. In today's journey, we won't just look back, we'll wonder. We'll explore the paths not taken and imagine how different the league and its icons might look today. This is the story of the NBA's biggest what-ifs and how missed opportunities continue to echo through time. A decade of dominance, the Lakers dynasty. When you think of NBA dominance in the 1980s, one name rises like a banner across the rafters of memory: the Los Angeles Lakers, led by Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, the calm giant with a skyhook that defied gravity, and Magic Johnson, the smile that lit up arenas and the mind that read the court like poetry. Together, they didn't just play basketball, they rewrote the script. But what if that script had changed? What if Magic had never joined the Lakers in 1979, but had gone to another team? Maybe even the Bulls or the Mavericks? Would the Showtime era ever exist? And what if Kareem's body hadn't held up? What if injuries had struck earlier, or the front office had failed to build the right support around him? The truth is, the Lakers dynasty danced on the edge of chaos. A single injury, a single failed trade could have turned the brightest decade of basketball into just another footnote. And even at their peak, the Lakers weren't invincible. Their rivalry with the Celtics pushed them to their limits. But could they have gone further? What if James Worthy had reached his prime a little sooner? Or if Pat Riley had stayed longer to keep the fire alive? The dynasty didn't end with a bang. It faded slowly as stars aged and new powers emerged. But one can't help but wonder, what if Showtime had never stopped? What if that golden decade had turned into two? Parte Tres, the rise of the Celtics. While the Lakers brought Hollywood glamour to the court, the Boston Celtics were building something different, something tougher. Grit, discipline, and legacy were the foundations. And at the heart of it all was Larry Bird. He wasn't flashy, he wasn't fast. But Bird's mind, his vision, his timing, his ruthless competitiveness made him one of the most dangerous players the game has ever known. Alongside him stood Kevin McHale, the man with unguardable post moves, and Robert Parrish, the silent warrior in the paint. Together, they built not just a team, but a fortress. But what if things had been just slightly different? What if the Celtics had drafted differently? What if they'd taken a gamble on younger talent in the early 80s to extend their run? What if injuries hadn't slowed Bird's back so soon? Could Boston have dominated into the 1990s? And what about coaching? K.C. Jones was a steady hand, a champion in his own right. But what if the Celtics had hired someone more experimental? A coach willing to break the mold, reinvent the playbook, and adapt to a faster, more explosive style of play? Would they have crushed the Lakers once and for all, or burned out too soon? The Celtics versus Lakers rivalry wasn't just a clash of teams, it was a collision of cultures, philosophies, and legends. And while Boston found glory, it's impossible not to ask, what if the Celtics had pushed just a little harder? What if their fire hadn't dimmed so soon? The missed opportunities. For every championship banner raised, there are dozens of almosts, almost trades, almost dynasties, almost legends. The 1970s and 1980s were filled with those quiet turning points, the ones you don't notice until it's too late, and some of them still haunt fans to this day. Let's start in Portland. In 1984, the Trailblazers passed on drafting Michael Jordan. They chose Sam Bowie instead because they already had Clyde Drexler and they needed a big man. But what if they had picked Jordan anyway? Could Portland have become the dynasty of the 80s instead of Chicago in the 90s? Could Jordan and Drexler have coexisted or dominated together? And what about the 76ers? Julius Erving, Dr. J, was poetry in motion. But injuries slowed his impact during crucial playoff runs. What if he had stayed healthy at his peak? Could Philly have brought home more than just the 1983 title? Would Irving have been in the GOAT conversation? Then there's the matter of chemistry and chaos. The Trailblazers of the late 80s, later known as the Jailblazers, were a team of immense talent, but internal issues tore them apart. What if discipline and unity had ruled that locker room? Could they have taken down the Bulls? Trades and draft decisions also left marks that never faded. Imagine if the Lakers had traded James Worthy, or if the Celtics had landed a top pick in '85. The ripple effects would have touched every corner of the league. Sometimes it's not about who you signed, it's about who you didn't. The player you passed on, the coach you let go, the moment you played it safe, when history begged you to take a risk. So many doors, so many chances. All it takes is one missed opportunity to change everything. The legacy of the era, time passes, players retire, arenas change names. But the 1970s and 1980s, they never really left us. That era wasn't just about points on the board, it was about shaping the identity of the NBA. Before global audiences, billion-dollar endorsements, and super teams, there were battles fought with sweat, grit, and loyalty. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's skyhook wasn't just a move, it was a symbol of consistency, elegance, and dominance. Magic Johnson wasn't just a point guard, he was a showman, a leader, and a bridge between eras. Larry Bird didn't just play to win, he played to humiliate his opponents with brilliance, making you feel every point he scored. And Julius Erving soared above the rim and brought the poetry of the ABA into the fabric of the NBA. Their legacy isn't just found in stats or trophies, it's in the way fans still talk about them. In the way today's stars wear their numbers, imitate their style, and carry their competitive fire. And the what-ifs, they only make it richer. What if Magic had played 10 more years? What if Bird's back had held up? What if the 80s Bulls had failed to build around Jordan? What if Dr. J had led a dynasty? These aren't just questions, they're part of the legend. They keep the past alive in our minds and remind us that even the greatest stories are built on fragile threads. The 1970s and 1980s didn't just shape the NBA, they gave it soul. Closing thoughts. The power of what-ifs. In sports, as in life, we often measure greatness by what happened. Championships, MVPs, records. But sometimes, what didn't happen is just as powerful. The missed passes, the trades that never happened, the dynasties that ended too soon. These what-ifs aren't just regrets, they're reminders. Reminders that greatness is fragile, that timing is everything, and that every moment in the NBA's history, every injury, every draft pick, every fourth-quarter decision carries weight far beyond the scoreboard. The 1970s and 1980s gave us legends, but they also gave us crossroads, moments where history could have bent in another direction. And maybe that's what makes this era so unforgettable, because we're not just watching what was, we're still imagining what could have been. And now, it's your turn. Which what if keeps you up at night? What moment do you wish you could change in NBA history? Tell us in the comments. Let's rewrite history together. And if these stories hit you in the heart like they hit us, subscribe for more journeys into basketball's greatest eras. The past is full of gold. You just have to know where to dig.